Welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 38. In this video and podcast, I just want to share some of the main takeaways that I got from the 4-day workshop at Super Genius Life, run by Pinnick and his team, which was some experience. So the workshop was actually about tapping into our genius, and I'll explain what the genius is in a minute. So we're tapping into our genius while neutralising our ego. Our ego is that kind of programming that we've had from a young age, such as I'm unworthy, I don't fit in, I need some type of identity that we've attached ourselves to. And by understanding what the ego is, being aware of what that is, which is the sort of unconscious part of our mind, we're able to neutralise it, as in almost clear it. It's, as Ryan brilliantly described, it's like your genius is the sun, and the ego and all your thoughts and feelings that hold you back from doing things, the things that you want to do, which your intuition, your genius and yourself wants to actually do. All these other voices are the clouds, and that's your ego, and that holds you back from going ahead and moving forward with things. So if we can learn to clear those clouds, then we can achieve a lot more, because we're not held back by all those voices. And that's really what this sort of introductory workshop was into tapping into our genius and becoming a master in life, really, in business and life. So what is genius? It's your intuition. It's, as you've maybe seen the Goldcast video where Steven Spielberg describes the whisper. So those whispers, that they're not like your goals that you've set out in front of you. They're actually things that come from the back of you, and you can, if you listen in that sort of moment when you have to make a decision, it's that first sort of 3 seconds when you have that gap before your rational mind kicks in to make a decision. And that's usually the decision you should have made. It's like when, for example, when I'm playing FIFA with my friends and you decide to, if you're the keeper, you aim for the bottom left corner to try and save it. Then you change your mind just before the person you decide on taking a penalty, and your friend kicks the ball into the bottom left corner where you were going to go, but you ended up changing your decision, changing your mind rather than going with your instinct. And it's kind of like that, trust in that instinct rather than all the knowledge and the books that you've read and your mentors have told you. Sometimes it's about ignoring all of that if it's going to hold you back. There's some things that we seem to what we know gets us to a certain stage. It gets us to where we are just now. That's everything that we know to now. But sometimes, to be creative and go beyond where we are just now, we have to go into the unknown. And that's a large part of what the course was about. Also, what was drilled in a common theme throughout the whole 4 days was a quote from Carl Jung. And it was, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. So what that means is, if you don't know why your reality is how it is, it's because you've not been conscious or aware to what got you to where you are right now. And this whole workshop was about understanding that process. One of the key takeaways that I got from this workshop was the importance of tension. So tension, a good example is doing Facebook Lives and structuring yourself with some type of tension. So I chose to do Facebook Lives at 2 p.m. every Wednesday, which causes a large amount of tension in my life. But tension results in results and successes, because without some type of structure that gives you that tension, you can't, you procrastinate, because you've not got anything that's making you want to do it more. And that's why he shared a story about Usain Bolt, who would sleep in if he didn't have his coach kind of egging him on. He had the greatness, the ability, but he didn't have the structure. If he didn't have the structure, he wouldn't have been where he was today, because his coach really pulled him through and pulled him out of bed and got him to move forward and use his greatness. Thanks for everyone joining on Instagram Live and Facebook Live here. If you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them at the end and share anything else that you want to know about this, what I've learned at this workshop in London. Tension is like pulling an elastic band, Ryan Pinnick explained. As the tension gets stronger, as you pull the elastic band further apart, the tension gets stronger. But what you can use, like what we feel in that moment there, is to let go of the tension, so we don't have all these thoughts and the programming from our ego kind of clouding up our mind in that tension. But when you're in that tension, in the unknown, where you've never been before, like doing a Facebook Live, almost impromptu, as I do most weeks, I do have a structure to what I'm wanting to cover. But right now, in moments like this, in flow, what you could call it, or in the unknown, what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen on Facebook Live. Sometimes technology won't work for you. Your daughter will scream in the next room, or your phone will fall off the tripod, and that's real tension. And that's when I can pull things out of the bag. And I've had some videos reaching thousands of views and lots of great comments from these videos that I've been producing every week consistently. And if I didn't have that public commitment, which I really hold myself to, I want to bring value every week to my audience, and one way I had to use was definitely using tension by public commitment. And again, people can need mentors and coaches to egg them on to do things, but I feel like I've found that public commitment works very well for me, and that's why I create accountability groups around me. I've got Ben's Business Book Club, which almost holds me accountable to read more books, because I post book reviews in there and people are kind of maybe waiting on the next one. And then there's this podcast as well and people are waiting on the next one. So I try and get on here on time every week. Sometimes, like on the train on the way up from London today, I tried to figure out a way to do it in the morning. It didn't work out, so I had to reschedule it. But by trying to stick to that time every week, it does cause tension, and I pull it out the bag most weeks somehow. And I'm quite proud of some of the videos I've done, or many of the videos. So that's what tension's all about in my own life experience and how I've seen it used. There's many other things when I lost my job and I started my own business instead of looking for other jobs. And there's definitely tension there where you go and start your own business and you don't have any other income. You're going all in, you're taking the leap. I was at my parents' house, so I didn't have that much tension, but my back was still against the wall because of my ego. My programming was I was wondering what all my friends would think if I couldn't go on nights out because I've not got a job, but I'm trying to start this business. And this went on for many years, and I didn't have a lot of money for a long time starting my business, and that caused a lot of tension. There was a lot of times, obviously, I felt like giving the whole thing up. But I think it also caused tension on holding the business together as well, by creating like some type of momentum. So there was a big amount of tension to just give it up, and it wasn't easy. But that's another great example of it, starting your own business and putting your back against the wall. You have to make money, and somehow I pulled out the bag eventually, and I was making enough money for living at my parents' home. Then I moved out to a flat and with my girlfriend, and I had like real commitments and bills to pay, and somehow I pulled out the bag again. So attention definitely works if you harness it in a positive way rather than letting it kill you. So like deliberate you, so that you're frozen almost with fear. So to get ahead, we need to take on tension, take on some commitments, and push yourself forward that way. The other takeaway that I got, I'm only going to share 2 takeaways because there's so much I could share about this 4-day workshop, but the other one was the importance of visioning, not just goal setting, but visioning. And in that visioning, what I do every morning is I write down my goals, and I read them every morning and every night. It's just on a wee small piece of paper, a small sticky note, and I read that every morning. And I see the benefits of doing that. When I do miss that, I do notice my day doesn't go as well to plan in terms of working towards my long-term vision that I have, like a 10-year vision I have for myself and for my life. So Ryan Pinnick recommended that we done a visioning, re-looked at our visions for a 1-year vision, a 3-year vision, a 5-year vision, a 10-year vision every quarter. So review that every quarter. And I never realised the frequency of visioning and why it was so important until after this workshop. So I was doing this sort of 10-year one, and I had some short-term targets, but I wasn't reviewing them and upgrading them. And as my life changed and the situations changed in life, like being a dad and changing things around to suit your current existing life, if you're not reviewing your visions frequently enough, it kind of will take you off track. So reviewing your visions very important as well. What we done is an exercise when we're doing the visioning. We done this meditation, which Ryan called the innocence meditation, where you imagine you close your eyes and just be present. And once you've done the meditation, you sit for 30 minutes and rattle everything off your head with no judgment about what you're writing down. If it sounds stupid, get it down on paper, because this is just really the first draft. It reminded me of what Walt Disney done when he brought people into this sort of creative room, and people were just to throw ideas up on the wall, and whatever one's like kind of stuck, they would bring it into this next room, which would be the critical room. So we're talking about this sort of creative room first. So you spend 30 full minutes of writing, and I've got 6 pages of A4 sheets of paper of visions that I had just up here, and I didn't know that I had that much to put down, because when Ryan mentioned it was going to be 30 minutes of just writing down your vision, I didn't think I would be able to pull that much out and put it on paper. But when you do that sort of meditation and just calm down your mind, clear the clouds and focus on your vision, what your passion is, what you want from the heart, without any other judgments and no holding back, and get it all down on paper, you can produce 6, 7, 8 pages of A4 sheet paper, pages of your vision, line for line. So I was quite amazed by that experience itself. And then from there you take it into that sort of critical room, or you look at it and see if there's any type of trend, and then you bring it into sort of more sort of precise, brief examples. Like I've decided that one of my visions, and it's already in action, is to create a supportive community of like-minded people focused on education, self-development, and sort of human kindness, and bringing that all together somehow. So that's my vision, and I've already been taking action on that, but that gave me more clarity around that vision. So for that exercise alone, it was worth getting myself to this workshop. So 30 minutes of writing, put it into sort of maybe 10 or 12 simple sentences of your visions, and then review them every morning. But don't spend too much time on them, because I've had that same experience as Ryan mentioned, that if you read obviously all 6 of those pages every morning, you're going to have no time to actually take action on them. So bring it all together, package it and make it nice and short, and then review them every morning. Meditate on 1 or 2 of them, focused ones, the most important ones, and then the rest of them you can just read through them and then get on with your day. And make sure when you do that, it puts it in your subconscious mind, so that when you go out and take action throughout the day, it's all aligned with what you've just planted in your subconscious mind. And there was a good graph. It's just like you see it a lot of personal development courses and slides, is the good old iceberg. And I think it's like 10% of your conscious mind there's 10% of your mind that's conscious. Then there's a small part is subconscious, and then the rest, like the the foundation of that whole iceberg and what your sort of mind's made up of is your unconscious, which is your programming, which I've explained is the ego. So I found that very interesting, and these meditations on your vision, a very different way as to what Napoleon Hill teaches in Think and Grow Rich about your definite major purpose, which I've done a video about. So give those a try, and definitely try out a Super Genius 4-day workshop as well. That was really interesting. There is a plan to try and get Ryan on the podcast soon, so I'll be interviewing Ryan Pinnick, which we've agreed about, and we're just going to get a date in. So send your questions in as well, and we can try and get those answered on the day that we're doing the interview. I'll just check the questions that are coming up here. How can someone start his own business? I've actually done a video on that. Is it Favor? To start your own business, a great suggestion I actually heard from Ryan was not to jump right in. If you need a sort of full-time income, you've got these commitments, like you've got a house or you've got a family to feed, then you can't just start your own business and quit your job and start your own business, because it takes time. So work on your fortune part-time while you work on your job full-time, until eventually you can work on your fortune full-time and quit your job. So that's where I would recommend you start your own business. If you don't know what your passion is, then again, I've got a lot of videos around that on Ben's Business Podcast as well, on finding your strengths and stop doing your weaknesses. So what are you good at? I would recommend starting from there. And what do you love? Follow your passion. Okay, David's answering some questions for me there. Just checking the other questions. Thanks, David, for answering Favor's question. Hi, Tina. Thanks for joining. The approaches indeed pumped me up with lots of confidence and trust in myself to push forward in the direction of my vision. Yeah, that's the key lesson I've taken away, is that I've been pushing forward towards the right things, but this has just given me even more clarity and more tools and tactics to actually keep pushing forward on them and not veering off in the wrong directions, where people, situations, distractions pull you off. Stay narrow focused on your vision, not anyone else's, not what your dad, not what your brother, not what your sister tells you. Your vision that comes from your heart, or it comes from your genius or your intuition. When you say, what is it that I want? That's what to go for. What's the end result that you want? And until you do this visioning exercise and get all your notes right down there, look at the theme and narrow it down to one thing, and then focus on that one thing, or a couple of things. We can call them seeds. And when you plant those seeds and you kind of review those seeds without spending too much time on them, just keeping them up in the subconscious mind so that you're actively working towards them every day. And that's the key lesson I've taken away from Super Genius Workshop, and I have went for the upgrade to go more into sort of mastering my life and understanding my subconscious and unconscious ego a little bit more, so that I can neutralize it to make sure that I'm always working focused on that vision that I've got, and having the tools to clear the clouds to stay in that narrow focus. Thanks for everyone that's come on live today, and thanks for all your questions.